Also a few years back, and I am under no way here, the city of Kitchener might get upset with me on this one, but actually trying to sing your praises, city of Kitchener, so bear with me. Years ago, I hit a pothole while I was driving. I hit a pothole so hard that it woke my baby up in the back seat, and he was kind of hysterical, like, because it was really jarring and a big, huge noise, and I got a flat tire and bent my rim, and it was a bit of a nightmare because it was winter, and it was it looked to me to be like a puddle, which, potholes do, but it was so full of water that I couldn't see that it was actually like, it was a mini Grand Canyon. And so did the damage to my car. I did get in contact with the city, and they reimbursed me. The city paid for my tire and the damage to my car, which I thought was wonderful. And I don't know if I should be telling it or not, because it's on the city's website that if you want to, you can make a claim. But how easy is that, and how often will you be reimbursed? The perils of potholes. 'Tis the season. Who pays when a person is injured or a vehicle is damaged? Joining us to talk about this is Rob Deutschmann, who is a personal injury lawyer right here in Waterloo Region. Good morning to you, Rob.
Hey, Jennifer. Before we can start, I just had a call from a family about 2 dead cats, and your name was mentioned in a possible claim. So I don't know if we can continue this conversation.
I know it's just a terrible story. And does it matter? Does it matter, Rob, that I had no ill intent?
This is why seniors have large prescription containers with large dates and blue colors and red colors and every other color to make sure they don't mix it up.
To mark them for I know. And I mean, it's really the only explanation that makes sense. And it's just so terrible. And I hate it, but it's true. And is it like cat slaughter? Like, it's not, there was no intent.
I know.
It's
we're kind of joking, but it's sad. But like you said, they lived a long life.
They did.
Fortunately, they met you.
Until they... I suppose that could be said for cats and maybe some humans too. It was a good life until she came into it. Okay, listen, thanks for taking the time this morning, because I know that I know probably just about it now. Unlike the cat story, probably everybody has a story about sustaining maybe some damage to a car with a pothole issue.
Well, I should congratulate you. I mean, you got paid.
I did.
Whereas you could be an advocate in your spare time. You could represent people, getting them paid for the damages, because I can tell you, I don't have empirical data on this, but from what I hear and speaking to people, it's very difficult to get paid on claims like this. And you can do any internet search anytime and see countless people who have been frustrated by the process, because it's not an easy process for sure for individuals.
You're right, it wasn't. And I must say that at that time, this was at least 7 or 8 years ago, I had to have a handwritten letter. I had to have pictures of the pothole. I had to have pictures of the car. I had to have the assessment from the mechanic. So you're right, it was quite an involved process, and I don't think I got all of it back. It was probably 75 or 80%.
The key for a lot of people now, first of all, if you hit a pothole or get damaged from a pothole, we'll break it down into 2 general areas. There's the damage to your car and a claim against the city or municipality for that, and then there's the other side where maybe some people do sustain some injury, personal injury, as a result of that incident. And there was something in the news I just caught this morning out in BC where some woman fell into a huge pothole, but like you say, when it's covered in water, you don't know what you're getting into or falling into, and it can cause some injury there. But on the car damage side of it, you mentioned pictures, and that really is the key. And sometimes we don't think about that right away, and when we think about it, it's too late. But if you can remember, and we all have phones, take pictures of the pothole, try and put something there that gives perspective in terms of the size of the pothole.
Right.
Because the circumference or the surface area of the pothole and the depth of the pothole are both relevant to any claim that you make, because the province, and I'm not sure when your incident happened, but around 2002, the province came forward with what are called minimum maintenance standards. say that fast 10 times, you'll be saying cinnamon by the end of it. But so there's legislation there to say that, look, if municipalities meet a certain minimum standard, then they're considered not to be liable if something happens. And in that legislation, and it specifically mentions potholes in the legislation, and depending on the type of road, the city or municipality is required to repair that pothole within a certain number of days if they get notice. But this is the difficult part about these sorts of claims. How much proof are you going to gather, and how far are you going to take it for a $1,000 repair?
Yeah.
It's not simple. And if the cities aren't cooperative in terms of providing you with information about their side of it, it can make the claim very difficult to enforce. And you're not going to go hire someone like myself,
right,
to go and deal with this thing. So you can try the appeal process that the cities all provide, and like you said, it's on the website. Make a claim, but I'm sometimes skeptical of these online processes, especially when the person you're bringing the claim against is making a decision about whether they're going to pay you or not.
Policing themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to pay out these things.
And how would I know, as the user of the road or the taxpayer, I suppose, that how would I know if there have been other complaints about said pothole?
Right. You can request that information.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll cooperate and provide it to you, which they should. Certainly, if you started a court action, they have to provide that sort of information. And then there's always arguments about whether past claims are relevant to the current claim, and you get into a fight about that. And again, the general frustration with the process makes it difficult for people. So you should be entitled to that information. And if the city is offering you a service or a process to bring your claim, then they should be forthcoming with all the information. Transparency.
Yeah.
Because you have to give them all your information.
Yeah.
So they should reciprocate with the same amount of transparency in the process. But then how many people are going to look at the minimum maintenance standards legislation?
Right. It's a bit of a dry read.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Our guest this morning is Rob Deutschmann, personal injury lawyer. We're talking about potholes and who pays when something like this happens. So we've talked about, you're right. I mean, if it's $1,000, if it's less than the deductible, most often probably most of us will kind of suck it up.
Right.
But you did mention that there are those two scenarios where it's personal injury. So now we're getting into something that obviously is not fixable in $1,000. So what then is the process in that regard?
Yeah. So let's say you have you're injured because of this. You get bounced around in the car or something happens. I mean, it's a whiplash can result in concussion in type injuries. There's all sorts of things that could occur.
Well, you know what I was thinking, and I'll just say this real quick, Rob. When it happened to me, like I mentioned, the baby was asleep in the back of the car. He was about a year and a half. He was so alarmed and crying so hard. I was really concerned that he had bit his tongue, is what I was worried about, which hadn't happened because I went back there and kind of opened up. He was just really, jarred, awake, shocked. But that was the first thing that ran through my mind. And it was kind of scary as a mom.
Yeah, so if you do run into injury, here's the thing. You can make a claim for medical benefits through your own auto insurance policy. Okay? Any accident or incident involving a car, whether it's like another vehicle that or a single vehicle incident like this, you can make a claim for medical benefits, and therefore then any treatment you might require or like physiotherapy or anything else that you might require, you get automatically. No issues about fault, no impact on your premiums or anything like that. That's an automatic. So that's the first thing. Second thing, let's say it's a serious injury that has resulted, okay? So the pothole results in you losing control and you hit a telephone pole, for example, okay? So now you're into a very serious situation. So what has to happen in that situation is the municipality is put on notice about the claim as quickly as possible. There's generally a 10-day notice period that has to be complied with. But you can get out of that in certain circumstances, but that's the first thing. And then you have up to 2 years to bring a claim. But you could be in a situation where you are seriously contemplating, because of the injuries you suffered, and maybe you aren't able to work for a period of time, or or what the situation may be, or you have some future care medical needs that aren't going to be covered by your own insurance company, then you're looking at a lawsuit against the municipality, and then you're bringing in a lawyer, a personal injury lawyer, to assist you in that situation.
So as quickly as possible, though, this needs to be, you know, kind of identified and
yeah, because here's the thing. Look, we're not going to slam cities and municipalities. Look, I was a former mayor, so I understand the difficulties in policing all the roads and watching everything all the time. And the budgets, city and municipal budgets are only so big. I mean, we can't have somebody on every road all the time taking care of everything all the time. So there is certain standards that are permitted. You know, we let them get away with some negligence or level of negligence because we understand they can't fix everything all the time. So it's called gross negligence. We have to show gross negligence on their part. Like, for example, they had notice of this pothole 5 days prior and never did anything. Yeah. That sort of stuff. So if they didn't act within a reasonable period of time, then, you know, a claim can be brought against them for personal injury. Now, when you want to talk about safety tips?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I was just looking up some safety tips for drivers, right? So, biggest thing always, for all of us, slow down when you're on the roads and keep a good distance between you and the car in front of you so that if you do see a pothole and want to try to avoid it, you have a reasonable chance to do that, not like speeding fast and suddenly jerk and try to miss it. Now, for most people, we'll try to veer if we see a small animal on the road, which is a dangerous thing. But I know, Jennifer, for you, that's probably not an issue. So I'm just kidding. Now, if you're going to hit a pothole, keep your tires straight. When you turn the wheel, that's when a lot of damage can happen to your suspension. And finally, the thicker your tires, and I don't know what your ride is like, Jennifer, in terms of the thickness and the spokes and the hubs and everything.
No squirrel is safe.
But the thicker the wheel, the better. So,
Rob Deutschmann, thank you so much for taking the time this morning to tell us about what we can do and how to avoid it, and for bringing me some giggles too.
Hey, have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you. Take care. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse, isn't it? Because it's the freezing and the thawing that in the wintertime, that means that the potholes kind of, you know, get fast and big. And I mean, sometimes, doesn't it feel like sometimes it's like magic? Like you're thinking that was not there yesterday. But yeah, some good tips there from Rob about potholes. And